right, class, this is Mr. Wallington, Mr. Larry Wallington, and welcome to CYB480, Essential Tenets of Cybersecurity. Hey, this should be a great class. We're going to cover a lot of things, especially with that should help you out if you're looking at getting a certification, such as your Security Plus or your SSCP or even your CISSP. This is a 400 level class, so my expectation, you guys coming in, you've already got some resident corporate cybersecurity knowledge. So let's take a look at what we're going to be going through with the course itself, and then specifically we're going to get into week one. So really, what does this course do? Like I say, it explores your core tenets of cybersecurity. Now, some of the areas that we talk about within the realm of cybersecurity, we're talking security, risk management, asset security, security engineering, security to your communications devices, and your network architecture and your network infrastructure. Like I say, it does. It really helps to prepare you for your CISSP, SSCP, and Security Plus. Now, can I say with guarantee that after you finish this class, you'll be able to walk down to Pearson VUE and take that cert test and you're going to pass it? Don't know, but I tell you what, you're going to have a lot better background and a lot of the fundamentals needed to be successful on that test. Like I said, some of the course material we're using, and it really is. It's the CISSP book. This is from Chappell. He's the one that writes this book. It's a good book. As a matter of fact, this was the study guide that I used when I tested for my CISSP. So it is. It's a good book, and but like we'll say with anything else, it helps to have multiple study sources. Okay, and I think this class is going to be is a great resource, because also what you're going to do is within this class you're going to be using a tool called UCertify. It's a great website, and what it has, you're going to select one of 3 different tracks, whether you want to go the Security Plus track, the SSCP track, or the CISSP track. And from there, it's going to take you through really the entire study material for each of these certifications, whichever track that you select. As well as, and the great part is not just reading, it is also, it has hands-on labs that's going to get, and scenarios that's going to give you a lot of good information, a lot of good hands-on reps. So when you go in to sit for these exams, I think you'll be a lot more comfortable. Within the class also, we've got threaded discussions. Now, what I've done, like I say, this is a Christian university. I know we have people who watch these videos sometimes and don't quite understand, well, why do you put so much biblical instruction in your videos? Because I teach for California Baptist University, which is a Christian university, right? So what I've done within our threaded discussions each week, week 1 through 7, I've integrated some Bible studies, and these are some that I teach and record myself. Like I say, these aren't mandatory, but just they're pretty short, anywhere from maybe 7 to 12, 15 minutes. But just watch those videos, and what I would like to do is just get your feedback, get your input, to hear what the Holy Spirit, what God speaks to you through the biblical integration videos that we're using. And there is a capstone project in this course, like I'm sure you're probably familiar with in many of your 400 series or level courses. And this is a critical assignment that's going to pull together basically all of the competencies that you've gone throughout this class. So that's an overview of the entire course. Now let's take a look at week 1. Okay, week 1, really what week 1 is, the first is 4 chapters out of our CISSP study guide. Chapter 1 is security governance. Chapter 2 covers personnel security. Chapter 3 is BCP, or business continuity planning. Chapter 4, laws, regulations, and compliances. Now, for this video, what I'm going to cover really today is going to really dig into more so Chapter 1, Chapter 2. Talk about governance, security policies, and things of that nature. Now, what I do like to do, okay, I'm not going to go over the PowerPoint slides that has already been prepared for the course. But I like to introduce cybersecurity from a much more simplistic or a holistic view, maybe I should say. Because sometimes, in this career field, and this is, by the way, this is where I work, this is what I do. I'm a senior cybersecurity subject matter expert manager for a company called Raytheon here in Dallas, Texas, that provides, it's a defense contractor, and we provide goods and services to the Department of Defense and other federal government agencies. So I do this for a living, and sometimes we can become so technical with cybersecurity that we miss the very fundamentals of what we're really trying to do. Is we're trying to secure assets, and secure not just assets but really information. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But before I get started, this is something I want everybody to think about and consider. Okay, it's what I call food for thought. I need some reverb there. Food for thought. And this is not just in cyber, but this is really, to me, in life. This was something I was taught by a very wise officer when I was in the United States Air Force. And he told me something very profound, and I found it to be true. People who know why will always tell people who know how what to do. Think about that for a second. Let that marinate for a second, okay? People who know why will always tell people who know how what to do. Let me give you an example. Pretty sure that being that we're all good Americans, no, Americans, we like football. Some people probably do. Me, not a big professional football fan, but it makes a great example. Okay, you see this? This is a picture of one player off every NFL football team. Okay, this is a representative picture. And you know what? These guys, they know how. They know how to play football. I mean, you've got talent here. You've got athleticism like you wouldn't believe. See this picture, okay? And many of us probably recognize these faces and probably don't recognize many of these faces. This is just some, not all 32, of the NFL owners, all right? Whether it's Dallas Cowboys or Robert Kraft, you know, some of the owners, they know why. They know the why. That's why owners will always tell players what to do. Okay? So just kind of think about that for a second. The people who know why tell people who know how. So when I approach things like cybersecurity and really every aspect of life, I always look for that proverbial question, why? What is the why? Why do we do this? Because if I can understand the why, it makes the how make a lot more sense, okay? So with that, let's talk about security governance. When we think governance, now we're talking about really more of the why. You know, the things that's required to know the why. Now, how I coined this so that it helps me to understand it, when we think governance at the why level, we have to have a vision. You know, where there's no vision, the people perish, right? So you have to have a strategic vision. Now, tactically, we need to be able to implement, you know, that vision. And then at the next level, we need to be able to execute, okay? You might ask with the question, what's the difference between implementation and execution? I'll talk about that here shortly. So let's talk about that strategic vision. That strategic vision, that's looking at 2 to 10 years out, okay? This is where we are, but this is where we want to go in the future, that 2 to 10 year point out there. And this is where our doctrine, when we talk doctrine now, we're talking national level policies, cyber policies at the national, at the federal, and if you're in a corporation, now we're talking at, you know, at that industry level. And this is also where our policies come into play. You know, federal regulations, if you got company policies based on where you may work. So now this is where these things align with the strategic vision, the strategic goals of the organization. Tactical implementation, here we're talking at that 1 to 2 year period. Now we're looking at, okay, this is how we want to implement these programs within our organization, that 1 to 2 year. Now, really, this is where processes and standards come into play. Things like our management frameworks within that organization, so that now we can take the strategic vision and we can package it so that we can implement this vision in the next 1 to 2 years. So what about operational execution? Now we're talking days, weeks, months, okay? This is the day-to-day things, the processes, the procedures, checklists, training, how-to guides, all these things that you have to have in place on a daily, weekly, monthly basis at the operational level that supports the tactical implementation, that 1 to 2 year level, that ties in directly to a strategic vision that's 2 to 10 years out. So you see how these pieces fit together. So when we talk governance, there's layers of governance within each of these areas, because is very important. Now, from this from this class perspective, when we look at the different certifications that we do, so when I think about that CISSP, I am looking at a much higher level of a certification, where now I'm looking more at policy, doctrine, and processes, right? Kind of hit the, as you see, it's much heavier at the doctrine policy level than it is at the operational execution level. Likewise, when I think security plus, pretty much just the opposite. Now I'm really at the task or the tactical level, operational level, where the day-to-day need to know how to do the hands-on things associated with security, and it's less and less involved in the policy, doctrine, and processes. So, and then we take that SSCP, and it kind of falls, kind of in that middle realm, captures kind of in that middle. So this is how this class brings these pieces together, from CISSP to your Security Plus, how it links in with strategic vision, tactical implementation, operational execution. So to make these pieces work, there's just some core things. And really, guys, I'm telling you, this slide I'm getting ready to go over now, this is really the heart and soul of what we do from a security perspective. It's from a cybersecurity, from a security perspective. This is the fundamental pieces. If you grasp this, everything else that we're going to talk about for the next 8 weeks, they all map back to these core competencies that I'm going to cover here real quick, okay? So, within the realm of cyber, our triad, many organizations, many things have what I call a three-leg stool. And the three legs to our stool within cybersecurity is confidentiality, integrity, availability. Confidentiality, what are we talking about here? We want to be sure that our information, now, like I said earlier, this is always about the information, okay? It's always about the information within the realm of cyber. And let me give you an example. You go to Best Buy and you buy a 8 terabit hard drive. That 8 terabit hard drive costs you what, $200 or $175. And you're probably saying, I wouldn't go to Best Buy, I'd go to Newegg. So would I. But for the purpose of this example, we're using Best Buy. So you go to Best Buy or Newegg and you get a hard drive. What's the value of that hard drive when you buy it? While it's still in the box. $200, right? That's what you paid for it. Now you take that hard drive, put it into your NAS, into your network attached storage device, and you put all of your tax information and all of your will information and estate planning information on that drive. Now what's the value? Not the price, the value of that hard drive. Could be priceless, right? Because now you want to protect that hard drive. Why? Not because it's worth $200 in actual value, but it's priceless in intrinsic value. So it's always about the information. It's about the information that's on that drive. And so what we want to do, we want to be sure that that information on that drive is confidential, meaning that I only want it to be shared or disclosed with people that I trust. Anyone that's unauthorized shouldn't get access to that. Integrity. You want to ensure that the integrity is there. What we're talking about with integrity, okay? Integrity meaning that from the time I create it, like I said, I put my banking information on that drive. The next time I go to it and pull that information off, I want it to be in the same format, the same shape as it was when I put it there. Nothing has changed, okay? Nothing has changed. That's the principle that of trustworthiness. Nothing has changed from the time that I created it to the time I need to use it. Availability. Yes, we want to be sure that our information is available. I can get to it when I need to get to it. It's always available. That covers many different aspects. Okay, really, that's where a lot of our network competencies come in. That we don't have. Denial of services. From either attacks or we don't have enough bandwidth. We don't have enough capacity. So when I try to get to my information, I am unable to get to it. So so that is our three-leg stool, okay? Confidentiality, integrity, availability. There are some other underlying things that support this, like, non-adjudication, non-repudiation, those types of things. But really, this is the core. Now, not only that, but talking about protecting information, right? It's about access control. If you can remember this, I mean, really, almost everything we do in the realm of security It's about controlling access. Controlling access. What do I mean by that? I'm going to give you the textbook, definition. First is that we have a subject, which is a human, and which is an active entity, which could be a computer or it could be a human, and that subject is trying to get to an object. An object is a passive entity, like, for instance, a piece of data in a database, right? So we're trying to be sure that that subject only accesses objects that they're authorized to access. Now, let me put it to you another way. All right, this is the analogy I like to use when it comes to talking about information access. Okay, I show up to your house Saturday night at 12:45 in the morning. Okay, think about that. We're going to use that scenario. I like this one better because to me it's a lot more fun. Because now we're going to talk about this information access model: identification, authentication, authorization, access control, auditing. Okay, so I show up at your house at 12:45 on a Saturday night, Sunday morning. Ring the doorbell, and you walk up there and look and say, "Who is that?" I say, "It's Mr. Wallington," and you're going to go, "Right." So what are you going to want to see? Some identification. Just because I yell to the door, "I am Mr. Wallington, your CYB480 instructor," you're not going to open that door until you get some identification, right? So I show you my identification. Okay, here's my California Baptist Instructors, Adjunct Instructor identification card. Then you go, okay, great. However, are you going to open the door? No, you're not. You know why? Because you're going to want to authenticate that identification. Why? You may call the provost office. Hey, look, I got this guy saying he's Mr. Wallington at my door. I'm not sure if this is him or not. So you're going to want to authenticate. Well, this is exactly what happens on your computer system. Okay, when you log in, you're providing identification, your username, or if you're doing multi-factor authentication and you pop in a common access card or use some other type of authenticator, you're providing an identifier. You're providing identification. Can you get into that computing system? No, you can't. Why? Because you still have to authenticate. So you either have to type in a password or maybe a PIN or something else. That is what authenticates your identification. All right. So now I've been identified. You've authenticated. Yes, this is who he says he is. Yep, that's him. Now what do? You open the door and you let me in. Okay. And I said, whew, thank you. So what are you going to do? Are you going to give me free reign to run over your entire house, go back in your bedroom and, go in your kids' room? No, you're not. You're going to control where I'm authorized to go in your house. Depending on how your house layout, you may say, yeah, you can come in, you can stand in the hallway, or you can come into the den and sit down here in the den. Okay, let's say you take me into the den and sit down. So you have authorized where I am free to move. You've put restrictions, okay, of where I'm authorized to go within your house. Same thing on the network. Once you got logged in, we have controls in place that says that, okay, you are a student. Well, this is where you are authorized to go on the California Baptist University network. If I'm an instructor, I can go there, maybe some other places that as a student, you're not authorized to go. So so I'm authorized, I'm in your den, and I am sitting in your den, and you've got this killer gaming system. I mean, it's like the gaming system, to end all gaming systems. You got virtual reality. You've got the 49-inch monitors stacked, two of those together, and you got it all. And the first thing I want to do, I want to run over there and grab that joystick and jump in that chair and start playing the game. And what are you going to do? You're going to well, slow your roll. Why? Because I don't have access to your gaming system. Even though I'm in the room, right? I've been authorized to come in the room and the gaming system is in the room. However, you're now controlling my access to what I have access to. Same thing happens here. So now, like I said, you logged in, you authenticated, you've been authorized to go certain places on the network, even though you may be able to go to a share drive, right? Doesn't mean that you're going to have access to every folder, every document on that share drive, because there are going to be access controls along the way. All right, and the last thing, right, is before I leave, if you're like me, like most people, once I get up and start walking out of the den, you're going to probably look around and be sure that everything is intact and I haven't picked up, something and put it in my pocket, because you just don't know me that well and you don't trust me. We don't have that type of trust relationship. So you're going to do an audit, just a visual audit. You go, yep. And because your wife is going to say, who is that? Well, or your husband, your significant other. Oh, that was her instructor from CBU. And they're going to go, I thought that was an online class. Well, yeah. Well, so what is he doing showing up here if it's an online class? Well, I don't know, And I thought he was in Dallas and we live in Texas, in California. See, kind of creepy, isn't it? Very creepy. So you're definitely going to do an audit. Well, the same thing happens on our networks, right? So when you've got access to information and as you're freely roaming where you're authorized and where you're access to, get trust and believe, guarantee people like myself who are auditing, we are looking and we are monitoring your activities. So you see, this is, first we want to be sure we maintain these things over our information. And our information objects, right? Now that we've got them confidential, we've validated their integrity and their availability. Now we want to be sure that we're controlling access to those information objects, so that anybody like me, a subject coming in, I just don't have free reign to just go through, because I've got to follow this information access model: identification, authentication, authorization, access control, and auditing. All right, so when we look at it from an organizational perspective, okay, because what we just covered, that's very holistic. Now, at the organizational perspective, what is cybersecurity's enterprise role in risk mitigation? As you see, I love analogies. To me, it's like making shaved ice. Well, kind of like making shaved ice. Here's what I mean. So I have a customer, all right? I'm a business, I'm a company. And my end user, the thing that I'm going to do is I'm providing some type of goods or services as a business to a customer, to a client. In this case, it's this little boy who wants a shaved ice. All right. And my company, we provide this service, this product, this good to our customer. How does it start? Okay, we're going to walk it back a little bit. Well, if I am a shaved ice connoisseur, right? I guess I'd have an accent. If I am a shaved ice connoisseur, the first thing I'm going to need is water. So I've got a connection, from the city water, and that has to come into my building. It has to have plumbing and all these things. This is where our IT community comes in. And I like to always express this way to help, to be sure that we understand the different roles associated with IT, networking, and cybersecurity. We work closely together. We share competencies and skill sets, but we have different roles and different vision, different sight pictures. All right. Here's what I mean. That plumber. That's what if you think of a plumber, they know how to get water from point A to point B, and hopefully it doesn't leak along the way. Our IT guys, yes, they are ensuring that we have availability of information. So just like this water is coming in, it has to be available. Well, then it goes, that's just where us, and from a cyber security perspective, because now we want to ensure not only that the water is available, we want to be sure that it's also, the quality or the integrity or the confidentiality of that water. So do we have similar skill sets between IT, cyber? Yes, we do. We share a lot of skill sets, no different than a city water inspector and a plumber. If you ask both of them, they share some similar skill sets of understanding pipe sizes, understanding flow rates, and things like that. However, you ask a plumber, typically, about the rust content or the pH balance of your water, and they may not be able to answer that question. All they know that, hey, look, you can take a shower. It's coming out of the head and it's 138 degrees. Now, how much rust content and what's the alkaline level? I don't know. As a matter of fact, I don't care. Can you just pay my bill so I can get in the truck and go and leave? Because you're asking me some creepy questions. So, but now you ask that city water inspector, yeah, because they are concerned about the quality of the water that's in that pipe. They are concerned about not only is it flowing, is it available, but also, again, the quality. So this is, here again, just an analogy of how we, IT and us in cyber, how we work together, in harmony. Oh, so like an Ebony and Ivy song here, you know. But this is how we do, how we work together. Okay, so now that we've got the water flowing, we understand that the quality of that water is good, you know, the rust content, pH balance, the mineral content, all those things, because we may have to put a water softener and some other things in here before we get to where our information system, or what I like to call the value stream. This is right here. This is the secret sauce. This is where it all happens right here. If I'm a company, this is where my intellectual property, this is where my IP, this is where it resides. So this is from a cyber. I need to be very concerned about this. I'm not just concerned about cyber from a technology perspective, but in a company, in an organization that you're probably working with or working for, need to understand this piece, the business model of the organization. Understand where the value stream, because for this, I can say it, there we go. For this analogy, this is where a raw product, a raw material, water comes in, we freeze it, we shave it, and then we put our secret syrup right there on the top of it. That is the value stream. So if the quality of the water is not good, if we're not protecting the intellectual property associated with this, then the value of our organization can drop. And this is where we make our money, because check it, we don't produce, you know, we're not sales, we're not production, but from a cyber, not only are we cost avoidance, but this is where we add value to an organization. So now we can ship that delicious product to our customer and they're happy. So you see, from an enterprise perspective, what we do from a security cyber is paramount to an organization. So I want to be sure we think about this in a much larger perspective for what we provide to an organization as well as to the customer. Okay. And in the process, though, of doing all this, at every step of this juncture, there's risk. There is a risk associated with everything that we do. Okay, a risk. Now, we're going to get into risk in part 2. Like I said, we're going to break this up. I always like to keep my videos about 30 minutes, but we're going to break this up into sections. Pick us up right back with part 2, where we're going to talk about risk.